Hey guys, so in this video, we're actually going to work on installing the crane here in the scene, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how I went about rigging it as well. So let's dive into it. So first thing to start off with, the original plan was the crane was going to be living somewhere over here, right next to the edge of the layout, but my friend Mike had a really good suggestion to actually move the crane in a little bit and then build up a little platform, if you will, just out of some strip wood for it. Some of you might remember the original plan was to put the crane up here on the hill, but I kind of figured that wasn't super practical. So I'm going to kind of run with that idea here. And the first thing I'm going to do is build a little platform for the crane to go here, and then we can go from there. So to build it, I'm just going to use my favorite material ever, which is just some strip wood that I picked up over at the local Hobby Lobby. Really, you can get this at any decent arts and crafts store. But the idea is I can use it to kind of build up a little retaining wall here. And I should probably have a rail car of some kind. Oops, knocking things over off camera there. Have a rail car of some kind just to make sure that I keep the clearances reasonable. And if I need to, I can also, trim the hill a little bit, but I think this will work. So I'll just cut this guy to about the length of the flat car, actually. Maybe a little more, because we want to obviously have room to put the crane, but we don't want to lose all room for the active dig side as well, because then that would kind of defeat the whole purpose of it. Yeah, I think that'll do. And it also doesn't need to be super incredibly high as well. Yeah, that'll do. That's got enough room. So what I'll do is I'll just put some white glue on the underside, and then once we get it in there, we can blend it in. I know some of you are going to be saying, well, Calvin, you didn't do any weathering on it. Wouldn't that make it stand out? And I'm going to argue, yes, it is going to stand out, but in this situation, I would argue that the dig site is somewhat new, therefore it wouldn't be out of the realm of plausibility as well that the base for the crane isn't somewhat fresh wood. And there's nothing stopping me from just coming along and applying a little bit of some kind of weathering to it, but I'm not too worried about that. So that's kind of my thought process with this. So, as the old saying goes, it's that artistic license, if you will, and I'm definitely going to use my laziness and the fact that I need to get a video out to my advantage. And at the end of the day, as I always like to say, I mean, it's ultimately whatever brings you joy in the hobby is really what ultimately matters. And if your thing is building stuff and making it look fresh and new, by all means, go for it. I'm not here to rain on your parade with that at all. I mean, you do you. And it's also nice that this material is, just from sitting around, slightly, you could almost argue, naturally weathered. Definitely isn't a bad thing either. And then another perk I will say of using foam as the scenery base is I've got the ability to just stick some T-pins in there and just kind of mock things up. But let me actually grab one of the bases. Two of those might actually just be high enough, and then once even before the glue dries, I can just backfill the area a little bit. But let me double check first. So this is the fake stone base, which is obviously larger than what the actual base size is, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that'll work. I might trim back the back side of there a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about that yet. So a lot of white glue to hold everybody in place. Now, if time wasn't such an issue, I would definitely use something like a spackling compound or something like that, but I'm going to argue this is kind of like one of those, the train show is right around the bend kind of projects, and you're in a race to get things done, so you kind of just gotta make it happen. I'm just trying to get everything kind of moved around a little bit, because obviously once I start to apply the thin down glue to hold it in place, it might lock into place things I don't want to move. Well, that spray bottle's not working. That's a bummer. Let's try the other guy. Oh no, this guy wants to work. I see how it is. Okay. Okay, so I just did the old moisten it down with a little bit of alcohol trick, and then I'm going to come along with my thinned white glue. Now in this scenario, I'm using thinned white glue just because I love scenic cement, but in this application, the fact that it is extremely low viscosity actually works against me, because I actually want it to take some time to soak in there and bond everything instead of just going all to the bottom like the problem that we had with over there. Okay, so everything is still covered in white glue right now, but I have the little flat area here. I do think I might have to cut back this a little bit, and I might need to build up a little bit of a retaining wall or kind of just resculpt that, but no harm, no foul with that. I want to make sure I have enough room for the crane base and theoretically enough room for somebody to stand there. So I'm going to let this dry for a couple of hours, then we'll come on back, try installing a crane base and seeing if, things kind of make sense in a spatial dimension kind of way. Because obviously if the guy has to be hanging out here over the tracks, we have a problem. Okay, here's the scene as it sits, and I'm really sorry if this video is a bunch of, oh yeah, I'm going to do stuff, you don't see anything on camera, and then bang, here's the finished product. But the very long and short of it is, I'm in the process of moving, and that is taking priority as of the time of filming. So sadly, this had to go on the back burner, but it's always nice to have something to work on to take your mind off things. The crane itself, what I did for the paint and weather job on it was actually really clever. I am a massive, massive fan of Rust-Oleum Rusty Metal Primer for projects like this. So literally what I did is I just took the whole thing, sprayed it down. I believe I used a coat of filler primer just to create more of kind of something for the paint to bite into. Then I went over it with the Rusty Metal Primer, and that kind of gave it a uniform reddish look, but that's not exactly what I want. So I then came along with some of my Hunter line, I believe it was the light gray stain, and literally just slopped it on there. And it really helped to tone down the reddish color, gave it more of a weathered look, and not including drying time for the paint and the stain. I mean, you can very quickly make things look very aged and weathered. And like what I did with the little skip cars in the other video, you can then come along with that base coat and go over it with some weathering powders. I've thought about doing that, but I'm actually pretty happy with the way that it looks for now. It's a crane. I mean, you can go nuts. You can put, grease stains around certain stuff, but I'm like, you know what? I'm happy with it now, and that's what matters. Go with what works for you. So as for the chain itself on here, this is just some chain that came with one of the crane kits that Tichy sells. They're a very cool product. They're just very, very challenging to assemble. So I had one that I worked on a long time ago and it didn't work, but I saved the components from it, figuring, well, it'll come in handy for something. I can cut it up and use it as a junkyard item, or in this case, the chain came in handy. So I am debating if I want to run the chain in, say, like that configuration where it's glued off on the top and then it's carrying a load with a secondary pulley, or if I just want to make it a straight line winching system, it'll be lifting anything. Those are things I can figure out later, but as it sits now, it is perfectly fine as is. So this is where I'm going to call the scene for now, partly for time reasons and partly just because I'm of the opinion of when you're happy with something, leave it that way, and then you can come back and make it look different at a later time and date. But the last thing you want to do is, be so fiddly diddly with things that you lose sight of the picture as a whole, if that makes sense. So hope you guys enjoyed this little update on the 0118 layout. As for me, I got to drive to my parents tomorrow morning as of the time of filming this, so I'm going to cut the video here, but I'll see you here next time on Make It with Calvin with hopefully some actual trains running on here because, man, I am dying to do that. So, see you guys later.